Welcome to Support Life, a program focusing on current social issues from a life-affirming perspective. I'm Gavin Baulch and my guest is Gail, the founder of the Doncaster All Abilities Basketball Competition. Well, Gail, welcome.
Thank you.
I love the title.
Doncaster All Abilities Basketball.
Yes, all abilities.
Well, we do have all abilities that come to basketball because we're inclusive. So we encourage families to play as well. So and we have all abilities, from young people who can't bounce a ball very well and don't know which way they're going, to players who play for Australia and Victoria. So we have every ability. And
this all started when?
Started about 15 years ago when I was working at a special school and my own children were heavily involved in basketball, and I thought, well, I think everyone should be able to play. So got up a few teams and we went to a competition in Hawthorn. And when I had a few junior players wanting to play, the Hawthorn competitions couldn't cater for them for primary school age. So I started with 2 teams in Doncaster, and the Doncaster Basketball Club helped me out with some courts. So we just grew from 2 teams to 30 teams in the last 15 years.
Okay, so it's 30 teams at the moment.
And growing.
Okay, and what are some of their achievements?
Well, we've had players that play for Victoria, as I said, and for Australia, and some of the little players that it helps them with their mobility. So if you can look at the fact that if you've got 6-year-olds with mobility problems and they come to training and they start running and bouncing the ball and passing the ball, it helps with their mobility. So it's about fitness and health as well. So if you're looking at achievements, the fact that the basketball program has grown so much and that so many parents feel that it's keeping their children healthy and safe and connected, it's been very successful. All
right, let's unpackage the word all, inclusive, and let's talk about some of the, let's say, symptoms, some of the things that people would understand, like Down syndrome.
Well, we have many people with Down syndrome playing basketball, from 6-year-olds right through till we go up to 40. We also have people with mild cerebral palsy playing. We have people with hearing issues. We have people even with visual. We don't have blind people playing, but some have visual problems. We have mostly intellectual disability, and we have some people with autism and Asperger's playing. So we have a huge range, but most of them are mobile. We don't have any wheelchairs. So they're people who have mobility.
Yes. Okay. Now, when it comes to leagues and that kind of competition, Mark, how do your guys stack up?
Well, some of our players that play for Australia can play mainstream. And so, but it's very difficult to get into a mainstream competition. Sometimes they start in a mainstream competition and then find that they feel uncomfortable because they're not as good. And it's a matter of confidence, but many of the players, once they start with us, will also play mainstream competition as well, but very few of them.
Okay, so the handicap going into mainstream is not your players, but an attitude problem, a perception from parents of others who play in main leagues? Is that how it goes?
Well, when you look at sport, it's very competitive. And if you've got a player in the team that's holding back the team, then people don't like it. So it's as simple as that. So once they're not coping, they usually come to a program that accepts the disability and caters for their level of ability. But until recently, we ran alongside mainstream, but because we've grown so big, we now have to use all the courts on 2 nights. So we're not running along mainstream, but before it was nice to be in an inclusive environment running alongside mainstream teams. But maybe one day, if we can get on bigger courts, that will happen.
All right. What are some of the fun, great stories?
Well, I always tell one of the stories of a dad rushing in on a Friday night dressed in a suit and a bow tie with his young Down syndrome son, and the son was all dressed up in a bow tie and suit, and next thing I know they're stripping off, getting into their basketball uniform, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, we've been to the wedding And he said, my son won't go to the reception until he's played his basketball game. So here we are. So once he's played the game, we can get off to the reception.
How sweet is that?
It is
Isn't
lovely.
that wonderful?
And then another night I had a young man who turned up on a bike. I was out the front and he didn't come by bike normally. And I said, what are you doing riding a bike? You know, it's dark. And he said, oh, Gail, the trains aren't running, so I've come on a bike. And I said, where did you get the bike? He said, I found it. And I said to him, well, I hope you take it back where you found it. We even had a young man arrive in an ambulance one night. He'd been hit at the station and someone called an ambulance, and he wouldn't, they fixed up whatever. He must have, you know, wasn't too bad, but he said he had to get to his basketball game, so the ambulance brought him up to the basketball game. So there you go, basketball means everything to them.
These are priceless stories.
They are.
Now, where does support come from? Where is the interest in community?
We've been very lucky that we've been supported by a number of people. The Bendigo Bank supports us financially because it's very expensive. It's not like a normal mainstream basketball competition. Some of our families have 3 children with a disability. They might be on pensions, and it's expensive to buy singlets and to pay the registration and insurance. So we do get some help from the Bendigo Bank, from Manningham Council, who provide money to help run a leadership program. Lots of Rotary clubs, Lions Club have donated singlets along the way. We've had churches involved, supplying role models and people to give leadership and coach. So we've been very lucky in our support, but it's been hard work to get that.
Yes. So that's 16 years, and what's the future look like? How do you see that?
Well, it's a little bit frightening that we're going to end up with so many teams, and I know that there's been talk that maybe we should, you know, start up a competition in other suburbs, but it's hard work just running one in one suburb because we've got players coming from as far away as Warburton. Right throughout Melbourne just to get there and play. So what the future holds, I don't know. I know that we've become involved in lots of things, like we've you know, now got even further education programs for some of our players, and we're trying to lift the bar of a lot of the players in a leadership form of being part of our program. So,
wow. Well, we'll be lifting the bar again in the next few moments. You're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break with Debbie Pataki, the leadership coordinator of the Doncaster All Abilities Basketball Competition. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and my guest is Debbie Pataki, the leadership coordinator of the Doncaster All Abilities Basketball Competition. Debbie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we had a pre-chat and you were talking about chilling out and being cool with your brother.
Yes, me and my brother spend quite a bit of time together. We obviously have our sibling rivalry here and there. But apart from those odd occasions, like we spend quite a lot of time together. Play computer games, spend Thursday, Friday nights together up at Doncaster All Abilities, and yeah, trainings and yeah, bit of computer game here and there, pizza nights, sitting on bed playing COD until early hours of the morning.
Cool. And he's special because?
Well, he has an intellectual disability, but I don't like to
focus on that.
No, because he's my brother. He's just like every other person, just like you and me and everyone else that is watching today.
Okay. Now, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have this fantastic story to tell.
Well, that's correct. Like everyone has a life. They all bring their own special story into the world and their own little imprint into the world. And yeah, if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't be heavily involved with the competition for like the past 8 years, and my brother wouldn't be where he is if it wasn't for the competition either.
So it all started with basketball. You went along, you took him to a basketball.
Yeah, that's correct. So it was kind of my dad, my brother and I, it was kind of our little time that we would spend every Thursday together. And yeah, so we started playing and his team was low on a player one night and I filled out, and yeah, the rest came along with it. So coaching, reffing, I'm now the coordinator of the leadership competition or the group, and support. My brother is also a leader, and a couple of other 5 to 6 leaders for them to coordinate the competition pretty much.
So that's the 32 clubs that Gail was talking about?
Yes, the 32 teams,
yes. 32 clubs, teams. I'll get it right.
That's
okay.
Right.
So on that journey,
yes.
You've had some experiences yourself. So you're now a mentor, coordinator under YMCA?
Yeah, that's correct. A bit of everything.
Yes.
Quite a lot of players just come up on Thursday nights especially. It's not just a basketball competition, it's also a social outlet for a lot of the athletes who can just come and hang out in a fantastic supportive environment, and it's very accepting.
Yes.
And just chill, hang out, chat about personal issues and whatever. So yeah, it's their home.
Yeah.
Yeah, home away from home,
home
really.
Away from home.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 32 teams.
Yes.
Okay. How much time does this take of your life?
I don't mind, but it takes, well, every Thursday, Friday nights. We have trainings on Sundays, and then every now and then I find whenever I've got spare time, dedicate it to basketball.
Okay. And the social network, how's that going with the kids? I'm calling them kids.
The athletes. Absolutely fantastic. Just to see them grow. A story, we had a new player start about this time last year. Very, very shy, wouldn't look at me, no eye contact, very minimal language. 6 weeks later would come up, shake my hands, ask how I was, how has my week been. So just socially, it's just fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
What's the most memorable story over those 8 years?
Oh gosh. I think I'll take it back to my brother. I'm not being biased.
Yes, no, of course not.
But my brother didn't have much confidence, much social skills, I guess, quite a few years ago, and just seeing him grow, especially in the last 2 years, has just been absolutely tremendous. Yes. Catches up now with quite a few of the players just outside of basketball. We recently had a basketball tournament on the Australia Day weekend, and he organised a little Australia Day barbecue back at ours. So we had about 15 players back at ours, and just watching them mingle and chat and chill is just absolutely incredible, absolutely.
Okay, now you've talked about him growing, but you've grown too, haven't you, through these years?
Well, yeah, I've told a couple of my mates if it wasn't for basketball, I actually don't know where my life would be. Through basketball, it's just given me so much different opportunities and just opened so many different doors for myself. So
you've made contact with Rotary?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and they're supporting you?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yes, briefly mentioned I was lucky enough to get onto a leadership program, and yes, now I can learn about myself and how to become a better leader for the leaders back at basketball. Yes. So I'm also growing in this competition as well. Okay, so how do you enjoy the role of being a mentor? Absolutely love it. Okay. Absolutely love it. To see them grow in themselves and together as a group and watching one another, supporting each other as well, is just, it's fantastic. Okay, so we've got this all-inclusive, mixed gender group of absolutely passionate players. Yes. Okay, with a social life that includes you and takes you away from your own life. So it's kind of, I'd imagine, 24/7 sort of. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay, so in your spare time when you have it, what do you like to do? Hang out with mates, quite into photography, so go on. Oh, you are? Yeah, go on a bit of photography trips here and there around Victoria. Yes. Yes, spend it at Vantage Point Church and hang out with mates, and just hang out with my brother as well. Okay. Now, the church has shown an interest in the basketball network that you're involved in? Yes, that's correct. So, as earlier said, they've been heavily involved, and once a year now we hold our basketball presentation nights September at Vantage Point Church, and they're just absolutely tremendous, supporting us, providing the venue, and the leadership team organises all that as well. So that's a red carpet deal, is it? Oh yeah, okay. Red carpet all the way, photographers around. Paparazzi. Up on stage getting the awards. That's fantastic. Now, how does the council play a role? So the council financially supports the competition as we're a non-for-profit organisation, and that helps us get the training equipments that we've received, singlets as well. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lovely community spirit.
Oh, definitely.
All
Absolutely.
Right. Well, we'll just stop on that note. You're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and my guest is Debbie Pataki, the Leadership Coordinator of the Doncaster All Abilities Basketball Competition. Okay, we talked about brothers and kids and how excited they are about this. We talked about it being a home away from home.
Yep.
But you do more than just teach basketball. You're about upskilling, aren't you?
Yes, that's correct. So I'm also a teacher at the Pines Learning Centre, which Gail approached, and we've started an All Abilities Essential Skills for Work. So we've slowly been preparing them for the outside world outside of school. A lot of them, once they finish school, they've done a couple of TAFE courses, but then there's kind of really nowhere else for them to further extend their skills and knowledge. So so every Wednesday morning, or this year, we'll teach them basic essential skills for work.
Fantastic. So life skills are important to pick up, but there's a great absence of job opportunities and homes, flats, accommodation. Tell us about some of the difficulties there.
Well, speaking to quite a few of the players at basketball, a lot of them have applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs, but because they've got a disability, I think that's what turns it down straight away, which is really unfortunate because a lot of them got so much skills. It is beyond the world, but they're not given the opportunity to be able to show the skills. So, hopefully more jobs out there will start giving them a chance, whether it's starting off with work experience, then just giving them a chance is what they need.
So what we're saying is, if we spent some time with these wonderful young adults, as you say, work experience, and got to know them a little bit, then we would understand their strengths, as you do. Now, why do you play to their strengths?
We've got to focus, I guess, on their strengths that they have and be able for them to realise their full potential and strengths that they have, that they do have it in them as well. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you establish that? Do you have a sheet with little boxes and you tick little boxes, you notice their strengths, or do you do something more proactive?
On the courts, what we do is we actually just pop them, we ask them if they've had any basketball skills, whereabouts their skills are, like, so they're dribbling and shooting. We kind of just gauge on that, pop them on the court, and just literally by eye we'll gauge from there and see, and then we'll ask them how they feel afterwards. If they feel comfortable in that division, we'll leave them there. If not so much, we'll work out if they go up one division or they go down one division. And so it's just giving them the chance on the actual court and going from there. Because, well, from talking you're not going to be able to see. By looks you're not going to be able to see, but giving them that chance, we go from there.
We touched on their strengths as you observe them on the basketball court. But of course the parents bring them usually. What sort of a space for parents is there?
Again, just like the players, it's almost like a second home. I've had quite a few parents actually mention that they don't know any other parents out there with children with disabilities, so this is their only time once a week that they connect with other parents and just be able to chat about any issues that they've got with their children, just about every general life question, really.
So they network, encourage each other?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's great just to see them just chatting along. There's like a whole group, there's about 6 of mums that just sit all up together and they chit chat, and then they're like, oh yes, go, and then they go back and chit chat, and quite a few of them actually catch up outside of basketball as well, which is just absolutely fantastic to see that friendships are blossoming, not just with players but parents and other families as well.
Oh, that's really good to hear. Now, you talked about your brother before and you have a concern. What's that concern?
Well, for his future, like housing, there's just not much out there to support people with disability with housing. and nor job opportunities. I know my brother's been trying to get a job for the past 3 years and just no luck. It's just really, really hard.
Okay, now let's come back to the housing for the moment. Roughly how many young adults who attend the basketball are looking for accommodation in the city that you're working from?
Oh gosh, so from about our 250 players, I would say about 70 to 80 young adults are ready to move out of home, but there's just nowhere for them to go that's inclusive and that could be able to support them, and financially, because they can't get a job.
Yes.
Financially, it's just no luck.
All right, now geographically we're covering what?
Manningham area.
Okay, and that brings suburbs such as?
Doncaster, East Doncaster, Donvale, Park Orchards, Warrandyte.
Okay, so if anybody's watching and listening and they kind of feel this itch on the inside that needs scratching and they can do something about accommodation and work, then we would love them to contact you.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's move into some other good news stories. Tell me about some of the kids and some of their experiences that you've had with them.
Well, with one of our leaders, her confidence in public speaking has just absolutely blossomed through all the leadership, and she's won a Manningham Citizen Award recently. My brother has won a Rotary Shine On Award for all his efforts in basketball, and his public speaking's just gone beyond absolutely anything I could imagine. A few weeks ago he spoke at his graduation, spoke in front of 250 people, and I'm not a big public speaker myself, and he just did absolutely tremendous. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're telling stories about the kids. What have you observed? What have they told you? What have you seen?
The one that stands out the most to me is one player in particular. His mum brought him up for a game and he was just absolutely terrified getting on court, so we just encouraged mum to bring him along to training. So he came to training for a whole entire year and just sat on the sidelines, and gradually he stood on the court for about a couple of months, and now he's running up and down, passing the ball, shooting goals, defending. It's just absolutely tremendous to see the progress. Wow. Some may take a few years like this boy, some 6 weeks. It's all up to the individual, but just to see them grow is just splendid.
All right, what I like is the fact that you're there and you're prepared to be patient and give them the time to blossom. And is that satisfying?
Oh, absolutely. It's just absolutely incredible. Like, just to see them blossom and to reach their full potential with all the encouragement from everyone is just, it's fantastic. Makes me feel like a proud mum.
Good, okay. And what do you hear the parents say sometimes?
Just tremendous thing for like parents, for them to have their children in a supportive inclusion environment. It's just fantastic.
Great. Well, thank you for all of that.
No, thank you.
You've been watching Support Life, and that's all for our program today. Join us again next week. Goodbye.